I'm not sure there's someone better to talk about ALS than our own Jon Boog Sciambi, because Boog, unfortunately, you've seen firsthand the way that this disease can destroy a life and families. And you have a friend who went through this, and because of that, you started a nonprofit, Project Main Street, to create funds for patient care and really help move this disease in a positive step forward. So as we talk about Lou Gehrig, what ALS does to so many people, let's talk about your story. How did you become so passionate about raising money and awareness for this disease?
Yeah, it started, I met my friend Tim Sheehy back when I was 7 years old. We were just childhood friends, and a whole group of us hung out. And fast forward, when Tim was 35, he was diagnosed with ALS. He was gone about 2 years later. But in the meantime, he was so overwhelmed by the cost associated with the disease that we decided to have a fundraiser for him. And he came up with the mission and the focus on becoming a 501c3. Where we lived, the one street was called Main Street. So he came up with, Tim Sheehy did, with the name Project Main Street. And our mission effectively is to offset costs associated with the disease. The average out-of-pocket outlay for somebody that has ALS is $250,000. So, you know, it's one of these things where we get a chance to raise money all the time, and dollar for dollar, all the money we raise goes to patients living with the disease to help them remodel their bathroom so it's now wheelchair accessible, pay their insurance if that is the case. But that's basically how we do it. Over the years, we partnered with the likes of Steve Gleason and Team Gleason. They help people through technology. But Project Main Street was Tim's baby, and you know, we lost him in 2007, and we get a chance to raise money and help people in his name. And you know, it allows me for a second to think about him and smile and remember Tim.
It's the first Lou Gehrig Day in Major League Baseball. When you think about Tim, just what do you think this day would mean to him?
I think he'd be pretty blown away. You know, he was a really good athlete. He played college soccer at the University of South Carolina. And, you know, Lou Gehrig Day, start and think about one of the icons in the sport. The name, you know, Lou Gehrig is synonymous with the streak, but it also is synonymous with ALS. So it's kind of baseball's disease. And the impact that he had, he's one of the greatest players of all time. You know, there's also a cross-sport impact most people probably don't know, but the first number ever retired in sports was Lou Gehrig's number because of his disease. They retired number 4, and no one was ever allowed to wear number 4 again because his career was cut short by amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. So, you know, it's one of those things where Lou Gehrig's name is connected to ALS. He has an amazing baseball career to look back on, and then you know, we try and raise awareness because I still think a lot of people don't know what the disease is.
How can fans who are watching and might not know a lot about the disease or want to give to Project Main Street or some of the other nonprofits with ALS, what would you tell them to do, where to go find the information and where to donate?
So a couple of things. There really are two spaces, right? The Ice Bucket Challenge raised over $200 million back in you know, around 2015, in that range. Pete Frates and Pat Quinn were the two guys that started that. So there's the space of raising money for a cure, and they're still a long ways away. ALS is 100% fatal, which is incredible, but every single time you die from ALS. Right now, there aren't biomarkers, so that there is no test. So one of the cruel things about it is they just rule things out. And so you probably, on average, from first symptom until you're diagnosed, it's a year. So you're losing that time where your condition's declining and you're not sure what it is. Average lifespan is 2.5 to 5 years. So again, the two spaces I talk about, Project Main Street lives in a really small space in terms of raising money for patient care. The bulk of it is for a cure. I mean, I am for advocating in any way, shape, or form to help people with ALS. But our money goes to help the people living right now. And you also want to see, you know, research and funding towards that. So there are those two spaces. So again, you can help those that are living with it right now, and you can help future patients and possibly eradicate this disease. I would love it before I die for our charity to go away, because that means that ALS has been cured. But you go online, projectmainstreet.org. You know, obviously there are other really good charities out there, ALS TDI, the Healy Center, at Mass General, and obviously the ALS organization, the ALS Cure Project, which is associated with Stephen Piscotty of the Oakland A's, and I Am ALS, which is another one which is connected to Brian Wallach. So there's a lot of places to go. But again, projectmainstreetst.org. You can donate. We got some cool T-shirts as well, and the portion of the proceeds for the T-shirts go to help patients living with the disease.
Well, I think it's amazing what you've done with Project Main Street, but I just want to ask you a quick question about your friend Tim, because all of this wouldn't have happened without him and the impact that he had on your life, and because of that, you want to help other people who go through ALS. So can you just talk a little bit about Tim and let everybody know what he was like? So
he was a little older than me, and about a year and a half, and he was a really good athlete. So he was a guy, I looked up to. The other part about him, I grew up in New York City, and Tim was a graffiti artist as a kid, go into the subway cars when they were locked up at night and spray paint on the subway cars that eventually translated into a set design business. And he was someone that had a pretty serious temper and also was loving. And I could still remember being in high school, coming home one day, and he wanted to show me a piece of graffiti that he had done in an abandoned building, and we're walking through the abandoned building, and I was like 14, and he was 16 at the time. I remember we're walking through the abandoned building to show me the piece. I still remember this really vividly, and it was pitch black, and I was scared, and I just remember we were walking, kind of shimmying through a place that was a little dangerous, and I just remember him grabbing my hand and kind of pulling me along, and just I still think about that now. That's what I think of when I think of Tim, is just sort of the care and, looking out for people. And again, he's the one that came up with the charter and our mission to decide to help other people living with the disease.
Well, I can just imagine him grabbing your hand today as we celebrate Lou Gehrig and continually fight against ALS. Hopefully you get to call some homers in his honor.
Yeah.
Maybe don't graffiti any subway cars today.
We're not advocating that. We're not advocating for that. But he was awesome, by the way. Baron 357. Go. Sorry.
Appreciate it. Well, thanks so much, Boog. Look forward to today and the money raised to fight ALS.